Hey everyone, welcome to a special episode of MMA and Coffee. On this episode, it's going to be live, late night, and I'm going to have two special guests. Zach couldn't be on this episode. We're going to do predictions for UFC 217. All right, so let me add our special guests to the call. All right, we're live, and our special guests are Brandon at the top right, and then Kyle at the bottom left. The first fight we're going to talk about is Stephen Thompson against Masvidal. What do y'all think about this fight?
It should be a good way to kind of start off the whole card, don't you think? You know, everything's going pretty well, considering that Thompson has kind of a distance advantage. Like he likes to use that like to his fighting style, using his length, I guess. And that's actually Masvidal's like kind of biggest weakness. So that should kind of put a certain edge into his placement. But the thing is, what I like about Masvidal is he's really well rounded. Kind of a jack of all trades type of fighter who's kind of like my favorite type of fighter to watch. So that kind of makes it almost evenly matched, despite having that like reach disadvantage for him.
Okay, so just so the listeners know, that was Kyle speaking. Brandon, what do you think about the fight?
Uh, I mean, so I don't. Just to start everything out, I don't have any kind of analytical things to go over this. I'm just straight just
Here
gut.
for the ride, my man. Here for the ride.
We're just going with gut calls, right?
Yep.
So yeah, this one's tough. It should be a good fight. I'm gonna say Thompson's gonna win this. We're going off of you got to go off of the Woodley fights where. Just every Woodley fight has been weird.
I would agree that was Styles where they both canceled each other out type of fight.
What? Yeah, and just like in general, Woodley has weird fights. I'm gonna say Thompson. He makes a little comeback, and I'll give him a third round TKO.
I feel like that loss to Woodley should be the motivation for Thompson to have like almost a fighter's edge on this, or like an advantage to, he's like pumped, like he wants to redeem himself and have that big, fight to make his name present again. But sometimes, that kind of weird thing kind of becomes too mental. I think there's been enough time between the fights that it might not affect him too horribly, but if the fight is weird again, that could be a factor into this. So just because maybe he still has Woodley's fight in the back of his mind, but these guys are professionals. I don't think they carry too much weight from previous fights with them. So, and I don't think it shouldn't be a factor, but it's definitely a possibility out there.
All right, so I'm gonna let y'all know what I think about this fight. I think the Woodley fight, Thompson had to worry about takedowns. This fight, he won't have to. Masvidal is going to stand with him, so it should be a good matchup for him. I think the question of this fight is, can Thompson keep the distance so he can use his kicks, or will Masvidal get on the inside? I believe if Masvidal can get on the inside, I think he has better boxing. I'm actually going to go with Masvidal. I think he's on the up and come up. I wouldn't be surprised if it was another close fight where they kind of like cancel each other out, because Masvidal in the past has problems where he doesn't go for it, and so he's lost close decisions. But recently he has been going for it. So I think if he can get on the inside, if he doesn't let Wonder Boy control the distance, that he actually has a good chance of catching him with a punch.
Brandon, you got anything to add on to that?
Apparently my voice is broken.
Okay, well, I'm gonna
Word
say
from Rohan.
I'm gonna say I agree with you to the point that I'm also gonna take Masvidal in this fight, but for different reasons. I think Masvidal is gonna win by points with the takedowns. I think he's gonna try to go around the reach and just try to go straight for the takedowns, try to go in the grappling kind of game. Because he knows if it's just going to be a boxing match, he's at that disadvantage. And maybe by the third round, if he wears Thompson out enough, he'll try to go for the knockout with a counter. Maybe not. But I think he's going to try to go the distance and go straight for the takedowns as a grappling.
Well, I could see maybe some clinch work against the cage where he's not able to take Wonder Boy down, but he kind of roughs him up.
I think he's going to try to use the cage as his advantage somehow.
That's actually what Matt Brown did to Wonder Boy to beat him. So definitely the way to beat Wonder Boy is to be in his face, close range, not to let him use his kicks because that's his most dangerous weapon. So
Okay.
yeah, so I got Masvidal, Brandon's got Wonder Boy, and Kyle's got Masvidal. Is that right?
I do. Yep. Yep.
All right, so moving on to the next fight. The women, we got JJ against Rose. Pretty much ever since Rose was on The Ultimate Fighter, she's been hyped up as, potential future champ. She's had some, ups and downs, but she's finally getting her title shot. And I'm excited about this fight.
I am too.
I think Rose has the skills and tools to beat JJ and not just beat her, but finish her, but only in the beginning of the fight. I think the longer the fight goes, it suits JJ simply because if you look at her previous fights, by the third, fourth, fifth round, she simply just throws way more punches than her opponents.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what these other girls' game plan is against JJ simply because if it goes to a decision, they're so far behind on the points when it comes to striking. There's no way for them to win. I don't see Rose winning like a kickboxing match against JJ, but I do see her like maybe catching her with a kick like she did against Michelle Watterson and submitting her. So like really Rose's best bet is submission early. If it goes third, fourth, fifth round, pretty much guaranteed JJ wins, and we might get a late stoppage by JJ because Rose does get hit.
No, I'll say this. JJ is a warrior, just flat out. And what makes her even more deadly is not only is she just a warrior. I sound like Joe Rogan. She's a warrior, I think that's the best way to kind of explain it in this situation without trying to overuse
she's
his
a beast,
analytics.
for sure.
She's a beast, and on top of that, what makes her more dangerous, she's smart. She's extremely smart. So what you're saying about going the distance and going to the third or fourth round, if it goes to the end of the third round, JJ's already got in the bed because she's already had it won. Like she's using her time to her advantage. And that being said, this entire division has been kind of crazy. It's in the last 4 years, the belt has just been kind of handed over constantly. And I think for the first time...
Wrong division.
What's that?
Wrong division.
Is it?
Yep.
No.
JJ's, other than Carla Esparza, JJ's the second champion. She's never lost the belt. This is the lower weight class.
I am thinking about the wrong division.
No,
yeah,
I agree.
Silly me. Shame on me. How dare I?
No, I agree, though, the upper weight class is chaos since Ronda's been dethroned. That belt's
exactly
been jumping around. If we look at JJ's background, it's kickboxing, so she's used to fighting long rounds and winning decisions through volume. She does she doesn't just throw one strike, she throws combinations. All her past opponents, they throw like single strikes. And if you fight that way, you're just not going to win a decision. So their best bet is catching her and finishing her. And she's so good, like, good luck doing that. So it's a tall task for Rose to do. I think she has the skills to do it, but only in the beginning. I think towards the end.
I'll say this: I think Rose definitely deserves this title shot. I think she's done everything up in her path up to this point to at least deserve this shot. But that being said, I think JJ is probably still the better contender out of the two.
Well, Rose had several times where she was in contender fights, big fights, and she lost. So
yeah.
Will she be known as the fighter who chokes on the big fights? Recently, though, she's looked like she's finally coming into her own. And so I'm actually excited that the fight's happening now, because if the fight had happened maybe a year or two ago, I think JJ would have destroyed her. It wouldn't even been competitive.
Yeah, we went one round and be done.
Well, maybe not that, but like a lot of the girls JJ's fighting are tough. They go the distance, but it's very one-sided.
I think right. Rose just has, like, it seems like she's found the right mindset. I don't know. We'll have to see. I actually think she can win this fight. I think it's her job to, like, just make it nasty. So I think she can submit her. I'll say she submits her in the second or third.
Really? You don't think it's going to go into the 5 rounds?
If it goes into 5 rounds, she loses.
Yeah.
So well, okay, good point.
Yeah, look, JJ wins 5 rounds.
Yeah, if you're watching the fight and it's the 4th or 5th round, you can pretty much be guaranteed that JJ's gonna win the fight, unless she just got hurt really bad and never recovered. Most likely, she's picking Rose apart. I think Rose's best bet is catching her with a kick, and if JJ falls, taking her back and choking her out. Otherwise, that's the thing is, if it was on the ground, Rose would win, but JJ has great takedown defense. So, it's
Matt,
it's really
you probably know this better than anybody else. Do you think that Rose has adjusted in the fact that she's gotten different trainers or coaches in the past year or so, of why her fighting style has increased so much, and why maybe she's more ready and prepared for this fight than she ever was before? Okay,
so she still has the same striking coach. The main difference is Valentina, who fights in upper weight class, who just fought Nunes for a title shot, lost a close decision. Valentina actually is the only fighter to beat JJ, and it was in kickboxing matches, and that's who Rose's training partner is now. So,
well, that makes this whole fight way more interesting then, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think the first couple rounds are going to be exciting, but towards the end, if it's
it would be great to see this fight just be throwing haymakers and jabs left and right. But as much as that's exciting, if they don't knock each other out, then they're going to be so gassed that the last 3 rounds might just be nothing.
Honestly,
JJ's too smart.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think she's going to go all in first round either.
No, she's just like, if Rose doesn't do any damage in the first 2 rounds, it's gonna be Joanna.
Yeah, JJ's just gonna systematically pick her apart if it goes.
Yeah,
because her whole fighting style is high volume, her cardio is great, and she just breaks her opponents down. Most likely, JJ wins. I like JJ. but I do think if Rose somehow pulled off an upset, it would make the weight class interesting. So
she wins stare downs too. Easy.
Have you seen the stare down, Carl?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna have to check that
Yeah,
out.
I'll send you a link to it. It's hilarious.
She's a
Okay, yeah.
She's a killer.
JJ usually tries to get in their head, and she just wasn't. It wasn't happening. She just stared right through her.
Oh wow, yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out then. That being said, I started off the segment of me really bringing up JJ and how much of a warrior she is, and that being said, I'm sticking with it, and I'm picking JJ to win this fight because I don't think quite yet. I don't think there's going to be a big ripple in this division. I think JJ's got it conquered still.
I agree. Rose, her path to victory is much smaller. I'm gonna root for her, but most likely JJ.
I feel like this might. God, is this the last fighter that could potentially do it though? I can't think of anybody else that she hasn't already fought.
Well, JJ's getting a little bit older, so you think it's somebody up and coming might be able to come in soon.
Everyone else, she's got so much more experience. Honestly, if Rose doesn't,
it's just gonna be like a Mighty Mouse situation,
well,
right?
Look, if Rose doesn't give JJ a tough fight, most likely we're gonna see JJ go up because they're supposed to be starting 125 weight class, and Valentina has already said that she's gonna go to that weight class. So we might get to see them two rematch, and really, I think that's the only person we'll see who can get to the same weight class as her and challenge her with her kickboxing skills. All right, well, let's move on to co-main event. We got Cody No Love against TJ. This fight's finally happened. It was supposed to happen a while back.
The Viper.
The snake in the grass.
I'm sorry. I screwed up your nice intro there. Go ahead.
So, what do y'all think about this fight? I'm excited about this fight. I want to see it.
It's going off of TJ Dillashaw's last fight. This has got to be good. You know, it has to. This is probably, in my opinion, is the hardest fight to pick because you got two guys weighing in exactly the same. I mean, the official weigh-ins, but their natural weight and everything about exactly the same. Got about the exact same reach. This is so evenly matched. I'm not sure which way to lean on this.
I would say Cody's best chance is, his power in his right hand. He's really good at getting on the inside and catching people. What TJ's going to want to do is stay on the outside. He's going to want to be a little bit more defensive. TJ has a really good head kick that he sneaks in with a 1-2, and then he throws the head kick. He kind of fakes low, but he goes high with it. I think really TJ's best bet of finishing Cody is that kick or somehow catching with a punch, and it would have to be later rounds. I don't see TJ catching Cody early, and I see Cody's best bet catching TJ early. So, I'm kind of rooting for TJ. I don't personally like Cody. But I can't deny that he's good. He has power. So if he catches TJ, his whole game plan might go out the window. But if this goes 5 rounds, you could see a close split decision where TJ wins by kind of outside fighting Cody and frustrating him.
Brandon, got anything to add on that?
I don't know. Cody went 5 rounds with Cruz to get here. I don't know. Seems good.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let me talk about that fight real quick because there's a couple factors. You had the factor of Cody fought the best I've seen him fight, and Cruz fought the worst I've seen him fight. And so I don't want to take like the credit away from Cody, but there was certain stuff that like once Cruz got hit with some big punches, he stopped fighting how he normally fights. Normally he fights defensive, evasive. He makes people chase him. Once Cody dropped him, he started chasing Cody, and Cody started fighting like Cruz defensively. So that fight, I think Cruz got rocked, and he just fought completely. He did not fight the way I thought he was going to fight him. I think Cody got in his head once he hit him, and so
well, that tells you like Cody's got the power. Like if he can make Cruz fight like that,
he made him fight emotional.
I don't know. This is going to be another emotional fight. So
I've listened to TJ talk about it though, and he seems like he has the high enough
a good poise to him. That's what I got of it too. I don't think TJ is getting really like. I don't think he's getting in his.
I think his fight IQ is high enough. He knows what he has to do. They used to be training partners. He knows he can.
Yeah, I don't think Cody can. Yeah, I don't think he can beat him psychologically in this fight. Like I just think TJ's a smart enough guy to do it.
I just think if he lands early again, which I mean he does, it's definitely going to change.
Well, I mean
the tide.
That's true, but I mean you could say that about any fight, really. Like, he hits him in the jaw early enough.
I would say the main difference would be is let's say Cody catches TJ. When TJ goes into his corner, Ludwig will tell him, like he'll have the right cornerman to tell him. I don't even know who Cruz's corner people are. You know, Jeremy Stevens,
that's the thing. Like Cruz is his own like coach, in my opinion. Like he handles things well too. Like he's a smart dude. So
yeah, I think Cruz,
if he can do that, I don't know. Let's see.
We'll see.
I
do
think Cody wins though.
I think it's going to be a close fight. I think it might be if TJ doesn't brawl with Cody like Cody wants him to, I think it could be a close split decision, maybe even controversial. And if it's a split decision, I think that's because TJ was outpointing him and outside fighting him. My initial thought is that's what I figured it was going to be. It was going to go all the way, and it might. I think that's definitely a very plausible outcome for this fight and everything. I'm going to make a kind of bold prediction, and I'm going to say that the only knockout for the main card is going to be this fight. Let me go back. I don't know. I think Masvidal could catch Wonderboy, or Wonderboy could catch him with a kick.
He could, it's that one's only gonna be 3 rounds though. So if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen fast.
Look, if Cody wins, he either finishes TJ early, or he hurts him enough to where he wins the decision. So
right.
I think it's a toss up. If someone told me they thought Cody was gonna win, I wouldn't argue. I'm just rooting for TJ.
I'm in the same. Like, look, as a fan, I want to lean towards TJ. But if I'm a betting man, I'm gonna bet on Cody on this fight. Like that's just the way I'm gonna put it right there.
I don't really care for either of them.
I like
so Brandon's just like I don't care. I don't care.
I like TJ Dillashaw a lot. Like I said, the last fight I saw him in,
The only,
He
the only
looked
thing I,
spectacular.
the only thing that rubs me wrong with Dillashaw is like the whole Mighty Mouse thing where I don't know, the way they handled that.
He was just trying to get a fight, but
yeah, but
yeah. Yeah, I
It's one of
agreed
those
with
things.
Mighty Mouse on that. That if he wanted to fight him, he needs to at least
but I feel
make
like
one
that,
fight down there. I thought that was just them trying to do a quick, easy fix, but it would have destroyed that division.
they just like handled that all wrong. But yeah, I don't really care about either of them. I'll say Cody. But yeah, I think Cody wins.
Okay, we should have a segment where we just talk about fights Brandon doesn't care about. And it's just like he's like, yeah, don't care about this.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's gonna be a good fight. I just don't care about the fighters. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's to me it's probably the most exciting bantamweight fight.
But yeah, what are you gonna say? What if this is the most exciting fight of the whole card? Then what? You're just gonna say? Are you just gonna respect the fight and just don't care about the fighters, or what?
Yeah,
much,
you
yeah.
can you can
do that,
enjoy
yeah.
a fight. You can enjoy a
I
fight.
mean, okay. I'm not saying that to knock you because I'm pretty sure I've done that in the past myself. But it's just,
Maybe
it
I'll
very
become.
well could be the best fight of the whole card.
Yeah, no, I'm not disrespecting the fight at all, but I just don't like. I don't have any emotional ties to the fighters.
It's not
okay,
like,
I can get behind
it's
that.
not like either one's his favorite, and he has a clear person to root for.
I'm not rooting for anybody. Yeah. So.
Like, I know it's like unprofessional to root for somebody, but come on, like I feel like for MMA, you have some spectacular fighters who you feel a little strongly.
It's the next fight for me.
Yeah. Okay, let's get.
It's the next fight for me.
Let me move to the next fight. All right. Michael Bisping against GSP. This fight's happening. If you would have told me 5 years ago that Bisping would be the champ and GSP would be fighting at middleweight, I would say you're retarded. But here we are.
Right.
What do y'all think about this fight?
Okay, can I say something real quick about how I feel about all this? Number one, when GSP retired, I shed a man tear that day. So that's how much I feel kind of emotional about seeing my boy. I shouldn't say my boy. I mean, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time, though. The fact that this is comeback, pretty damn exciting. Number two is Brandon. If you tell me you don't give a shit about this fight, we're gonna fight ourselves. So I'm kind of curious on what side you're going for on this.
This is the one fight I like. It has a place in my heart. It's GSP.
Okay.
Yeah.
The main
before Ronda, before Conor, like GSP was the face.
That's what I thought too. Before Ronda Rousey, before Conor McGregor, he was the UFC guy. That if people were gonna get into UFC, this is the guy you watch. Right there.
Him and Brock Lesnar.
And the way they sold fights were like completely different too. Like GSP, he just showed up and fought.
Well, he was in a middle grace period between Randy Couture to Ronda Rousey.
Yeah,
he was that guy in between.
The UFC has changed a lot.
Yeah.
So this is weird. Because I feel like they're treating it similar to that. Does this fight really make sense? Not really.
You look at. Just their body builds between it. Michael Bisping, he has a weight and a height advantage over GSP.
He's gonna be the bigger guy.
He's just a bigger guy all around. Yeah, and which is weird because he's also 3 years older than GSP. Not that age is necessarily a giant, thing, but Bisping's 38 years old.
The funny thing
you got a guy who's going into his 40s.
He's looked.
I know, which is weird. Unless he's like the Tom Brady of UFC, I don't know.
I swear. The main thing I want to say now.
He's more like the Eli Manning.
Before I make a breakdown of this fight that's real, I swear to God, if Bisping comes out and wins, and then just retires, and it's like, I beat Anderson Silva and GSP. I swear to God.
I hope he doesn't retire. I hope he doesn't retire off this. Like
GSP has to win this fight just for that.
I disagree. If Bisping wins this fight, you might as well. Who's next after that?
Whitaker,
who are you gonna do?
The interim champ they had a whole fight for, who has another belt that he actually supposed to fight but got hurt.
But GSP's like, he has the belt, right? If he wins, like, he's staying at middleweight.
Yeah, so he'll fight Whitaker.
Yeah, but he's talking about Bisping.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, what is next? I don't know. It just seems like
it's a perfect fight for.
In my opinion, that's the best way to go out on top.
It really
is.
Like,
it's just.
He's already been kind of hinting at it. So
I mean, didn't like technically GSP go out on top? Like, granted, GSP's. This is the only thing that's kind of concerning. So George St. Pierre's last fight was like kind of controversial because a lot of people felt he lost that fight, but the judges kind of gave it to him because they knew it was going to be his last fight, and et cetera, et cetera. But that being said, like, he had a big streak of being like, defending his title for ever, for X amount of years. I don't remember off the top of my head how many, but like, I'm just saying, like, GSP was king, and we already alluded to that before. He truly was the guy. Like, he was the Conor McGregor, 8 years ago.
He was the pay-per-view king for them.
Yeah. Like I feel like in his timeline, like, Chael Sonnen sold his fights the way that Conor McGregor did, but GSP sold his fights just because he fought. Like, he didn't have to say a word. People liked watching him. And
he also had a hard time saying words. So.
What I would say is, after he had knee surgeries, you've seen him be less dominant. And so I think him taking time off was good. Only thing is will he have ring rust? He's been out, like, what is it, 3-4 years? It's been a long time. When he retired, he actually had the most UFC wins. Since then, Michael Bisping now has the most UFC wins.
Well, and I felt like even his whole retirement thing was kind of weird because I feel like he got a concussion when he announced his quote unquote retirement. When he won his last fight and everything.
He might have. And he got rocked in the fight, so
he did. And not that this has like any type of concern about this fight. I'm just saying that, like, him coming back is kind of a big surprise to me because he's pretty emotional about it, and I'm happy to see this fight. This is really hard to pick because, like, if you want to go back to like the whole who you're going to root for, which, like I said, is kind of unprofessional, but hey, it's not like we're getting paid for this, so how professional are we, right? Like, I want to go with GSP. Like, George St. Pierre is just such a massive name, like, in just the history of of everything. But Michael Bisping is kind of a beast of his own. So, I mean, I think it's a great matchup in the sense of just the names. Maybe not because of weight and height, like I said before, but just the names alone, like, literally, like, for their pre-fight interviews, I don't think any of these guys have to say a word, and people are just going to read who's on the card title and be like, yeah, I'll watch that. Just immediately. Like, I think when they announced this card, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did this during the John Jones and Dan Cormier, like, their rematch fight. Like, what was that, back in April, March or whatever? And I remember, like, on the bottom corner at one point, they're like, oh, GSP's coming back in November. And I was like, yes. I remember seeing that immediately. Just, yes, I'm buying it. I don't care. Like, yes, I'm going to watch that. Just
okay. This whole card is it's a really good card.
Great card.
If you're a fight fan, like, this is
even casuals,
this is a card you want to watch.
Like,
yeah, well, and that's a great way. Yeah, exactly what I mean. Like, this fight alone is worth watching. Then you go through the other three that we just discussed. Those are worth watching. Even if it wasn't Michael Bisping and GSP, it wasn't like the main event. If it was whoever else, just take two fighters who are eligible and you put in the main event, I would probably still want to watch this card, like, regardless, because of just everybody else involved. Now you put this into the main event, this might be one of the best cards of the year. Honestly, it might be.
All right, so let's get to talking about the fight itself.
I'm sorry. All right, go ahead.
Kyle, the hype man. Okay.
Yeah, right?
Okay,
yeah.
so
hey, if you've never watched UFC, I'm going to sell it to you right now anyway.
okay, so if I'm a betting man, I know
You
what
bet
to
Michael
expect. I know what to expect with Bisping. I've seen him fight.
Yeah.
He's been active. GSP is a complete unknown factor. We have no idea what he's going to look like. We don't know if he's going to be like BJ Penn, show up and just look old and garbage, because that's the thing. Recently, a lot of these fighters have been coming back older and they don't look good. They don't look good at all. So that
Right.
could happen. Whereas Bisping, I've seen him fight recently. I know what to expect. It's not gonna be an unknown. Like we know he's gonna show up. We know he's taking this fight serious. He's training for it. GSP, I don't know what to expect, but I will say that knowing his personality, for him to be a champ that long, he wouldn't come back if he didn't think he could do it. I actually think this fight's going to be really close. I think they're going to cancel each other out. I think maybe the very beginning. It really depends if GSP can take Bisbee down. If he can take him down and keep him down, if you're a GSP fan, you should be jumping up and down and saying he's going to do it. He's going to pull it off. He's going to win another belt. He'll be a 2-weight division champ. But with such layoff, he's most likely not going to finish Bisping. So if he wins the first couple rounds, unless he's able to make Bisping really work and get tired on the bottom, most likely fourth, fifth round, I'm gonna have to give Bisping the cardio edge. If we watched Bisping's rematch against Dan Henderson, the very beginning, Dan Henderson in the first couple rounds, dropped Bisping, but Dan Henderson was tired, and so Bisping won those rounds just by staying busy. And
he's good at fighting with volume.
Yep, and the same thing happened with the Anderson fight. There was 2 rounds where Anderson was extremely dominant, but then you seen him take off rounds, and in those rounds, Bisping stole them. So I think this could be a really close fight where maybe GSP wins a dominant round, but then he's tired, and while he's kind of like pacing himself for the next rounds, Bisping still's around. So I would not be surprised if this is going to be a controversial fight. To me, it has it all over it. Split decision, very close fight, depending on if GSP can get the takedowns. Now, I will say this too, because everyone's been kind of like saying, oh, well, Bisping's just going to pick GSP apart. GSP's fought really good strikers, Nick Diaz, Carlos Condit, Thiago Alves, really dangerous strikers, in my opinion, more dangerous than Bisping, and he was able to keep them at bay with his jab, and because they're so worried about his takedowns, it opens up his punches. So, and Bisping, he has a lot of scar tissue. It's funny because GSP kind of cuts easy too. I'm telling you, I would not be surprised in this fight. They're both bloody. And I wouldn't be surprised. They're both kind of bloodied face. GSP, he jabs Bisping a lot, and then if Bisping goes to like counter or move forward, GSP changes levels and takes him down, but then Bisping gets back up. So I just see this fight being really close and going back and forth because both are well-rounded.
The fact that Michael Bisping is champion right now is crazy in itself. So you definitely cannot count him out of anything. Yeah, I think he wins this fight. uh, in a close
Oh,
fight.
you're going for the champ, huh?
I,
You know what?
it's hard,
I would. Hold on.
it's just hard not. It's hard not to pick him at this point
You know what?
because of the so many unknown factors in GSP. I want GSP
Yeah.
to win, but he's fighting at middleweight. He's had a long layoff. He's coming back to fight for a championship belt.
If this fight was in the UK, no question, Michael Bisping wins it by decision or split decision. But since it's in New York,
Yeah.
I think GSP could still the controversial split decision, and I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised they say, "Hey, let's make a rematch."
If this is like, if GSP comes back and he shows that he's still himself, of course he has a chance. It's gonna depend on how hard he has to work for takedowns. I feel. If he struggles with it, maybe he gets tired quicker because we don't know like what kind of condition he's in. Yeah, it's tough to call.
I see GSP early on
And
being stronger.
His striking's not bad.
No, it's not. He's been.
It's just he's not flashy. Like, so people think he doesn't know how to strike. Like, he can still strike.
Yeah, I see. First 2 rounds for sure. GSP being stronger, even though he's the lighter guy, he's gonna be stronger and faster. He might get takedowns, but I would not be surprised if Bisping gets back up. One thing no one really talks about is Bisping's takedown defense. Rashad Evans. Who else was it? Chael Sonnen. Like, people that are known for their wrestling couldn't take him down. People that are way bigger.
Wait, hold on.
than
Are we
GSP.
talking Sonnen like in the past 2 years, or like Chael Sonnen in his prime?
Steroid Chael Sonnen. couldn't take him down. So, look, this fight has all over it decision, close fight. But, if GSP just shows up and looks old for some reason, because
I don't think he will.
But I'm just
He's
saying,
2 years younger than Bisping. Like, why would he look old?
I'm just throwing it out there.
Like,
it can happen
between
after seeing
Ring Rust.
After
I
seeing
get it.
BJ Penn come back and just look like dog shit, it could happen. I think it would happen? No, but I'm saying it's a possibility just because we have no idea what to expect.
The only thing that you can go off of is that GSP has a crazy work ethic, and
Right, exactly.
so it's hard to think that he could come back and look old, but you don't know, so.
Yeah, the big thing is
It's definitely a possibility, but that's what kind of makes that's what makes UFC so great, is because there's always endless possibilities when you go about it. Personally, GSP, you said it before yourself, he wouldn't agree to this fight unless he thought he was ready.
Well, yeah, and Bisping said it too.
I don't think GSP is the type of guy who's just like, whatever, let's just do it. I just want a paycheck. Like, I don't think GSP is that way.
No, Bisping's even said it. He said that GSP took the fight because he thought he could. Thought he could beat Bisping. He kind of underestimated him, but I don't think he's underestimating him. But
no, I see. I don't think he's underestimating him at all either. I'm just saying that I don't feel like
he wouldn't have took it if he didn't think he could beat him, though.
Yeah,
So,
GSP I think would have been completely content being retired, but just like every fighter, every athlete out there, like after a while you start kind of missing the realm and everything. But I feel like GSP would never agree to any type of fight like this, especially on a grand scale such as this, unless he truly felt he was ready. And like Brandon just said, like
he's so conscious of his legacy,
That too, yeah.
I see.
He's already got one. Even if GSP lost this fight, I don't think it tarnishes his legacy at all. Like, I don't think it would.
No.
It's just people would
He
just
could
love
easily
him so much.
easily just say ring rust and I moved up a weight class.
He doesn't have to say anything. He just
I'm
let
just
his
saying he
fans
could
do the
easily
talking
say he
for
could
him.
just say those two things. Um, Last thing I'll say before we end this episode, and I have to say it, and I'm already prepared to
I
catch
didn't pick my
heat.
fighter, by the way.
I'm already
So
prepared to catch heat if I say it, but this
okay.
is also USADA. So, in my opinion, I think almost everyone before USADA took some type of substance to help them in fighting, and so that's one thing I'm interested to see is like, let's see GSP fight where they're way more stricter on what substances they can take.
Hmm.
Who you,
Well,
all right, who y'all got?
I'm going to say right now, I know this sounds like, oh, I'm going for the root, uh, thing, but I'm going to take GSP in this fight. I agree with you. I think this is going to go the distance. And I do agree with you that it might be controversial. The one thing I felt that you left out is I think the reason why GSP is going to win this fight at decision and why uh, he might overcome everything is you left out his kicks. Like, I mean, his thighs are like crazy big. I mean, they
Well,
make Cammy from Street Fighter look
okay,
small,
okay,
like look
so
skinny.
okay, so the reason I didn't
His
mention
kicks
his
are going to be great.
the reason I didn't mention his kicks is before he lost the belt the first time to Matt Serra, he used to fight completely different. The way he beat Matt Hughes was a head kick. He used to throw spinning back kicks all the time. Um, I want to say after he lost, he stopped throwing as much, and then you add on the knee surgeries. For whatever reason, he doesn't throw them as much. But it depends on what kicks he throws. Now, if he throws, look, if he threw a head kick and knocked Bisping out,
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about
you know what?
how big it's
I would.
going for the kill
My thing
zone.
is,
I think we're just chipping away and getting the points and wearing them down effectively throughout the
well,
rounds.
okay.
That's
Well,
what I'm
what I was
talking
gonna say
about.
though is if he's throwing like big old wheel kicks, he's gonna spend a lot of energy. Uh, Bisping's defense is pretty good, so he needs to be very efficient with his energy against someone like Bisping who paces himself and does high volume. He doesn't want to
He
be
does.
tired in fourth, fifth round. Um, I think the biggest thing too is GSP used to fight once to twice a year 5 round fights, so he was in amazing shape. So he could be training all this time, but it's just completely different from actually going in and fighting and doing it for real. I mean, I'm sure he simulated it, but uh, you know, would not be surprised if in the fifth round Bisping's the fresher, just because he's been the more active fighter.
I can see that. Like, I think that's definitely a very plausible scenario.
Especially
In all
when
of
we know
this.
GSP's going to use a lot of energy trying to get the takedowns, and we don't know if he's going to get them or not. So that's way more
Unless he doesn't
energy.
try to go for the takedowns as much as we think. That's what I'm saying. I feel like it, if GSP is going to be really smart in this fight, I feel like he's going to play more defensive than maybe he has in the past or just in general. And this is where the kicks come in. I feel like he's just going to get his points and start chipping away and get his thigh kicks, get his body shots and everything. And then once he sees an opening, maybe he'll start, putting the jabs in as well and putting those combos effectively towards Bisping. And I don't think he's going to knock Bisping out by any means. But if you get to the end of round 5 and you have the judges, I think it's going to be a split decision. And some of those judges are going to see all of these body shots and give it to GSP because of it. And that's why I think GSP will win this fight.
Well, first round, most likely GSP's going to use his jab a lot, and if Bisping tries to pressure fighting, Like if he tries to just get in his face and make it a dog fight, GSP, he didn't have a background in wrestling, but he has amazing timing. It's when he shoots. He shoots when fighters are overextending on strikes, and so when he goes for the takedown, he gets it. So
I agree. No, it's kind of in the same realm of Conor McGregor, why he can get people into counters.
yeah, with his left hand.
I think GSP is kind of, in my GSP is king, and how do you dethrone the king? I just don't think it'll happen.
Well, right now Michael Bisping's king. Yeah, he already destroyed one legend.
He's the count.
He destroyed one legend already.
He's the count.
Yeah, no, he's a duke.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just this is gonna be a weird fight. I love GSP, but I think Michael Bisping's gonna get the decision.
Traitor.
I know.
Look, Bisping,
with the upset, because every win that Michael Bisping wins at this point is considered an upset, right?
I guess.
Bisping split decision is a safe bet because he's the champion. You have to beat the champ to be the champ. To me, the most deciding factor is can GSP take him down and hold him down? Because if he can do that, then he could potentially beat Bisping in a dominant way.
Yeah,
but
I think he could do it.
Like
honestly,
you said,
I think he could do it.
There could be some one of them could get some weird cut and that could change the fight.
He could get a takedown and do an elbow, and Bisping can't see from blood, or later in the fight, Bisping could catch him with something. I think this is people were kind of just a lot of middleweights have been kind of like, oh, GSP's just going to get whooped. Bisping's going to destroy him. I think it's going to be a really close fight. I think they cancel each other out to where it's going to be close. There's no way this is like a one-sided fight.
Yeah, 100.
Another
100%.
reason why I think this is going to go advantage to GSP is because, like you just said, I don't feel like Bisping has ever fought somebody that can actually cancel him like that. I don't think Bisping. I think he's always kind of had like that small advantage, and he's using it to his advantage. And now for the first time, I don't think he will be able to handle like actually in the ring to meet a guy to be like, hey, everything you're gonna do, I'm gonna cancel you out, and I can actually counter you.
Well, if we look at Bisping's losses, at the time he lost to those fighters, they were more athletic. So I'm not discounting Bisping being tough. He is extremely tough. But if we look at the athlete, GSP is the athlete. Like as far as like just
he might be one of the hardest working UFC fighters that has ever entered the ring, honestly.
Well, both of them. I can't remember what it is, but Bisping's like heart rate is like some ridiculous low amount. It's ridiculous.
Bisping has crazy cardio.
So, yeah, I mean, I think either GSP gets the split decision from takedowns, or if he can't keep him down, Bisping gets a win split decision. So that's my prediction.
You think the split decision will go to Bisping?
Depends on the takedowns. To me, that's going to be the most deciding factor, because on the feet, I think they're close.
Yeah, but which one are you picking?
Oh, God.
Listen, I went out there on some picks, so.
I want GSP to win, but wouldn't be surprised if Bisping pulls it off.
All right, that's the same way.
I feel kind of guilty because I've only like been on just like the whole GSP train this like the entire time.
You're just
listen,
just like screw Bisping, whatever.
It happens.
It happens. And I guess
wait. We gotta say this. Kyle is from Wisconsin. GSP is Canadian. They are neighbors. They're way closer
Right? Yeah, exactly.
than
He's
the
my neighbor
UK.
to the north. You know, like so I gotta support him. Uh, I mean, like I look in my backyard; he's practically right there. So, uh, no, but seriously, I guess I haven't really given enough credit to Michael Bisping because, uh, realistically, if he won this fight, like as a fan to GSP, as I've retorted to over and over again, I mean, I'd be like, oh man, like my guy lost. But at the same time, like I gotta give respect to Bisping. Like I wouldn't be too disappointed if Bisping won because if he just overpowered him, if he just outfought him, like whatever the case might be, in the situation, I'll give him the congratulatory, everything that he deserves because I think he would deserve it. Like I don't think there'd be like any too controversial, like, oh well, I don't know about
Look,
that,
one thing
unless
we
there's
could-
like some crazy early call that like could be controversial, which
One thing we
I don't
know-
think that would happen.
Dude, if Bisping knocked him out at the beginning or GSP knocked him out, I don't think anyone is predicted that because they're just not
not at
known
all.
for. They're not known for that. What they're known for is outpointing, winning decisions. I would not be surprised if they're both cut up, and it's a really close fight.
Right. Yeah, that might actually, now that you say that, that might be like the most crazy, like left wing,
just call
like
it
factor. If there's just a crazy TKO like in the first round, be like, no one saw that coming,
Well, dude, Machida just came back and got knocked out first round. He was out for like 2 years. So,
Yeah.
I mean...
I feel like Machida looked worse.
He was already
going out.
downhill. He was already downhill. GSP didn't... He wasn't getting finished before this fight. So, it'd be funny if... it'd be funny if your prediction was like, GSP head kick first round.
Yeah, I mean,
Just went balls to the wall.
You just go for it. And if it happened, you're like, I called it. I'm the only
reverse
person.
that.
on
Michael
the...
Bisping head kick first round.
Okay, so that's both y'all's predictions.
Look,
because
if that was the first strike that was landed, like just
Look.
immediately off the gun, the first thing I'd say, like, this was worth the money.
Look, if it happens, we have this on tape.
Right,
And y'all
yeah.
both said it, so we can just be
Bisping-
like, we're the geniuses.
Bisping flying knee.
Dude, flying knee as GSP goes for a takedown. Late rounds, he's tired. Bisping throws flying knee. All right, this is when you know to end the episode.
We've gotten way off topic now.
This is when you know when the ended. All right, that's what we thought about the fights. What did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe. All that
Do you
good
have our
stuff.
Twitter handles on the page, or do you want us to say it out loud?
I will put it in the description so you can follow these guys.
All right.
So,
Thank you, Matt, for putting our Twitter handles post-edit.
Okay. See y'all next time.